Hello everyone, welcome to the Chevelle build. If you're new here, quick rundown, 1972 Chevelle, building it almost the exact opposite of the way I've seen cars built since I was a little kid, which is pristine and sits in a garage and absolutely perfect, scared to drive on a rainy day type build. I just have this car that I've had for over 20 years, sitting outside, rotting away, going to absolute garbage. And I decided, you know what? I'm not gonna get it perfect. I'm just gonna put it all together the best way I can, make every little piece slightly better than it was before, and turn this into a running, driving sedan that the wife and my daughter and the rest of our family can just go out and enjoy and have a good time. The step I'm at right now is I have replaced the floor pans on either side, the lower firewalls on either side. I've replaced the rear seat pan. I put new braces on to some old trunk pans that I had installed by some idiot 20 years ago when I was younger. They're not perfect, but better than it was before. Did a little bit of brace work here and a bunch of other stuff. So if you want to see more about this, go look at some of the previous videos and watch some of that. Today, I am going to be wiping the entire car down on the underside and on the inside of the car, getting it nice and clean and ready for paint. And then I'm going to paint the entire setup with the KBS rust sealant. So I will show you all that product, but let's get started. Not enough time in the day. Pausing for a little snack. As you can see, it's a different day. Again, guys, I'm working on this stuff after my full-time job, so I'm only getting about an hour, hour and a half per day after work, and then most of my work's on the weekends. So this is the stuff we're getting ready to paint with. I've used it on a previous project. I really enjoyed it. It's good stuff. KBS seal, rust seal. Look it up if you want. At this time of the video, if I'm wrong, I'll put it in here, but I think it was like 180 bucks for a gallon. And I bought a gallon last time, and I still have like maybe a quarter of that gallon left. And I did the underside of the bed of my pickup truck and the cab and the frame of a 1980 square body pickup truck. So goes pretty far. I brushed it on. I'm probably going to brush it on here. It kind of levels itself out. So that's what we're getting ready to paint. You just saw me clean everything up, so it's pretty much prepped. I'm probably going to be able to do sections at a time because I'm still at work this week. So do one more once over on it, make sure everything's ready, stir this paint up, start the painting process. Cue the music. looking fresh. It's amazing how all one coat will make it just come together. Not finished, of course, but man, this stuff takes a lot of time. I actually wasn't going to spend this much time out here tonight, but I poured a little bit too much paint. And unfortunately, when I opened the can, I don't know if you saw it in the time lapse, but the can top would not come off. And I finally got it to break free, and it bent the top all to mess. So I've got it wrapped up in a trash bag right now to try to keep it sealed. Tomorrow, I'm going to go up to the local Ace Hardware and try to just find an empty can that I can transfer this paint into so I don't lose it all. All right, just a little blip of information. Like I told y'all, the can messed up on me. So I had to put it somewhere. So for about 50 cents a piece, I think this is going to be my best option. I looked at the local hardware store and found an empty can that they sold, but it was like $8. And these things are always a pain in the butt to pour out of, and they don't really seal that well. So looking at this, I think this might be a better alternative. Not only is it probably easier to seal it, but you don't have to get the entire can out if you only need a little bit, and it should be easier to clean off and reseal. So I'm going to try this out. Just wrote what it was on the top and go from there. So that's the first time that had happened. That was unfortunate, but ended up staying out here late using the paint that I already poured because I didn't want to pour it back in the gallon jug. And yeah, it looks it looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. It's still got a little bit of a sheen to it because it's still wet, but it should dull down just a little bit because it's a satin. And it is all looking pretty sharp in my opinion. Yeah, I like that. Hopefully you can see it on camera. It's looking pretty good. But I've got the bottom pretty much done. So tomorrow I will work on the firewall and then start on the inside. And this might look like it's already done, but I just spray painted it before I put it in. So that's just one layer. I'd like to put that thicker KBS layer on it anyway. So I'll be doing all that, the rear, and I think I might even put it on the roof. So, yep, I'm going to call it an evening there and on to the next step. Guess it's time to do the inside. I think I'll start over here. So I'll put you guys probably, I'm thinking somewhere in there. All right, cue the music. Another fresh morning, getting started. Like you saw, I got everything painted with the exception of flipping the car over and doing like the last little 10% of the stuff that was overhead, because there's no point in painting overhead when I have it on a rotisserie. But while I got it on this side, I think I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the seam sealer. So I guess you'll be seeing that. I'll determine whether it's worth putting the entire time lapse in, so hopefully it's not too boring, or if I'm gonna cut it short. But basically right now I'm just gonna go through, seam seal everything. I picked up seam sealer. I'm using a gray seam sealer. You can choose them any color you want. I've used this in the past. I like it. It's just barrier bond. I used it on my square body project. It's a brushable seam sealer. You can buy it in a tube. You can buy it all different ways to put this inside the panels. I determined this was going to be the best way that I was going to use it, or maybe not the best way, but it's the way that I'm going to use it. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I will be brushing it on seams that I need, and then I will take a second brush, dip it in some mineral spirits so that the sealer doesn't stick to it, and then use that brush to flatten areas out, because otherwise when you go to try to wipe it, it's just real sticky and makes a mess. I did a little test area off camera just to see how it was going to turn out, and then I'm going to repaint over this stuff and make it black again. So I tried that out, and sure enough, you can't even tell that stuff's there unless you are right up on top of it. And everywhere I'm putting this, nobody's going to be right up on top of it. So in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. I don't have to make it that pretty. I just going to seam seal it from the bottom side, seam seal it from the top side, to just keep all that moisture out of the car in places I don't want it. So that's what we're getting to now. As you can see, I've got pretty much 90% of it seam sealed. Firewall up to the top. Did everything I wanted to on the inside. Trunk. Trunk obviously was the worst part. I used some of the seam seal to get some of those little tiny pinholes, which it did an alright job. I mean, I know it looks garbage right now because it's gray, but once I paint it black, this section here, you can see all the gray stripes. If you look right here, let's see, right there, straight down, and from that gray over to that gray, is seam sealed as well. I just painted over it black already. So as you can tell, once you paint it black, it disappears. How it should. So all of this will no longer look like this as soon as I paint it black. But rotate the car over, paint the final sections, and then seam seal the final sections, and then paint everything black. But for right now, we are getting ready to have the big winter storm of the year, I guess, here in Virginia. It's the one you've probably already heard about. Hopefully it wasn't too bad, but it's stretching across the entire South. So it's Saturday. Gotta go get the generator, the car's ready, gas, all that nonsense. I've gotten most of it all done. I'm actually going to try to scooch this over and put my truck in here. That way, if we get all this ice that they're talking about, at least the truck won't be covered in ice and nasty if I need to use it, and I can go to work Monday and not have to deal with it. So, time to get ready for the winter storms. I'm taking a little bit of a break here and doing that. I'll catch y'all as soon as I get to work on this next. Well, the winter storm is here. It sounds like we're already getting the sleet rain. Great. What do we got? Not too much, about 1.5 inches or so. Hopefully we don't lose power. But more importantly, time to get back to work. Left the heat on in the shop last night. Of course, had to pull the rig in just in case I needed to go somewhere. Didn't want to have to deal with all the snow. But I got enough room to keep working. And although it's not warm in here, it is not extremely cold. Actually, I think it's close to probably 48, 50 degrees in here, so that's pretty good. All right, like I said, let's. I turned the car over. I don't think I did that on camera, so that I can come through and get all the spots that I didn't paint because it was upside down the other direction. So I'm gonna finish painting some stuff. And then, got that to paint. Got some bits on the inside to paint. And then I guess I'll go back to seam sealing after that and seam seal the places that I couldn't grab. Like in here, but I still have to paint that as well. So yeah, more seam sealing and more paint, but that's the kind of final product to that seam sealer. Goes on, and it's hard, but it has some flexibility. So once you paint it, it disappears, which is kind of cool. Also, I don't know if I ever pointed this out, but I had a friend come over the shop and pointed it out. This inside of this cowl is normally rotten out and it's not rotten. So that was great news, because I know a buddy of mine that's got a 70 Chevelle and his is all rotten out, and that sucks because it's a lot of work to replace it. But while I was in here, I went ahead and painted all that up too, so hopefully that'll keep that from rotting in the future, or at least in the near future. So on this cold day, let's mix up some paint and seam sealer and get to work. And there you have it, folks. It feels like I've been painting for a century, but I've got the painting done for now. Got, you saw, underneath the car, inside the car, around the outside of the car. Seam sealed everything that's here that I'm going to seam seal. I'll put some pictures up at the end of the video so you can get a better look if you didn't get a good look while I was doing it. Just finished the outsides of this firewall section, so it's still shiny because I just painted it. But it's hard to show on camera. Like I've said before, this is more of a satin finish. It's not as glossy and shiny as it shows up on video. But the inside of the car is all painted. Got the roof painted, firewall painted inside and out. Underneath the car, just everywhere. Everywhere I wanted that paint, I've got it painted, cleaned up, uniform, seam sealed. And like I said also previously, once you put that seam sealer on and put a coat of paint on it, it disappears. So you don't have to be super tidy with that seam seal. Of course, you don't want it looking like complete garbage and waste material. But if you just go along the edge and get it down in the crevice, keep the moisture out from this side, underneath, keep the moisture out from that side. Then I choose gray because I can tell where I've been, and then paint it black. It all matches, and unless you're really looking for it, it doesn't show up. And of course, this is all going to be covered anyways, so it really doesn't matter. But that is how I'm going to wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I am going to be moving this car over to the side of the shop now because big change. Now I'm starting to work on the chassis. I've been excited to work on the chassis because I've been working on this body for feels like a century as well. It's snowing outside, or it has snowed outside. So I've been parking my Suburban in here so I could drive back and forth to work and don't have to worry about the weather. So I think if I got enough time, a little bit of daylight left, I'm going to rotate the car back on the side, move it over, and try to get the frame on this side. I don't know if I'll be able to do that, but that's what's happening in the next video. I just got all of my brand new suspension just showed up, so eager to show you guys what I got. I ended up going a little bit different than stock, which is what I was originally going to do, but we'll get into that in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. Trying to post every Sunday at 5 o'clock, so tune in if you want to see the progress updates. The whole idea of this build is to pull it in at the beginning of winter and drive it out of this shop at the end of winter. I think I started in September. My goal is to drive this car in May to try to show that you don't have to spend years on these cars to just enjoy them and make them better than when you got them. So tune back in. Hopefully I'll be sending you a video in a week from today at 5 o'clock. Thank you. Appreciate it. Please subscribe.